Translator Reverie. Edikarisu who knew sprang out, then draped herself over Ling Han's back. Her tiny face brimmed with exhilaration. She had not crossed hands in far too long, and the itch in her bones had made her restless. "Young Master Fu, please, please!" Seeing the youth in embroidered robes about to depart, the farmers chased after him one by one, crawling on their knees. Some threw themselves before him, and 2 even clung to his legs. The youth in embroidered robes at once showed utter disdain. He snapped his legs, flinging the 2 who hugged him flying. With a resentful sneer, he said, "Contemptible things! You dare touch this young master with dirty hands? Beat them!" The 2 servants immediately moved, sleeves rolled high. They were about to seize the 2 who had been kicked away. "Pa!" A young child rushed out and dove onto one of the farmers' bodies, then turned and cried, "I won't allow you to beat my pa." The 2 servants hesitated a fraction, but the youth in embroidered robes snorted and said, "What? You 2 can't even win against a child?" At once the 2 shivered and hurriedly broke into a run again. "Brute, not even letting children go. Fight it out with him. We're going to starve to death anyways. Why not kill him? A life for a life." Hearing what the youth in embroidered clothing said, the farmer's fierce nature was completely incited. Since they weren't given a way out, then other than putting up a desperate fight, what else could they do? However, in front of someone in the Gushing Spring tier, no matter how strong their will to fight to the death was, it would be useless. "Such an arrogant child," Guang Yuan spoke out in a coldly. The youth in embroidered clothing turned and saw Guang Yuan. Filled with ferocity, apparently not a member of a large sect or family, his attire was extremely garish and presence strong. Obviously, the other party was a lone martial artist. He turned around and said, "Such foolish audacity, actually daring to insult this young master. A mutt from the 9 nations of the desolate north that thinks himself strong and able to run amok in the world? Bulsh, let this young master teach you how to be a proper mutt. Tuck your tail in. Such a cheap mouth needs a beating." Guang Yuan snorted, taking large strides forward. "This young master is Cheng Kai Fu. You dare touch a single... Ah!" The youth in embroidered clothing meant to toss out a threat at Guang Yuan, yet he never expected Guang Yuan's palm to flash like a sudden gale. He was slapped straight onto the ground, pain so sharp he could not finish the words that followed. Unless the youth possessed Ling Han's ability, it was only natural that someone of the Gushing Spring tier would end up like this when facing an opponent of the Spiritual Ocean tier. Seeing this youngster called Cheng Kai Fu slapped to the ground, quite a few farmers instantly began to cry out, their eyes reddening as favorable feelings surged toward Guang Yuan. "You actually dare to hit this young master?" Cheng Kai Fu crawled up, his face smeared with dirt. Looking utterly disheveled, his expression was that of a man-eater, viciousness fully bared. "Pa!" Guang Yuan's hand struck again, and Cheng Kai Fu was once more sent sprawling onto the ground. Guang Yuan was holding back. Otherwise, a spiritual infant tier warrior's blow could have killed him in a single hit. "This lord, please show mercy." A middle-aged farmer pleaded with Guang Yuan. Guang Yuan started, then said, "He's hounding you guys to death, and you actually plead for him? Young Master Fu is an important person who won't argue with us," the farmer said. "This lord, please let young Master Fu go. We'll plead with young Master Fu again. Young Master Fu will definitely show magnanimity of an important person, giving us a way out." This was the standard servant behavior. Even having been driven to destruction, they still clung to an unreal delusion. It had to be said that there was a big market for such delusions, immediately moving many people. They were just farmers and not warriors, picking up the hoe to fight after being hot-headed all of a sudden. Now that they were chilled by a cold wind, their courage vanished without a trace. "This lord, please let go of young Master Fu." Several farmers knelt down, pleading for Cheng Kai Fu. Guang Yuan only felt his chest about to explode, furious at these people, unwilling to put up a fight. He let them be, turned around, and left directly, out of sight, out of mind. "Ha! You know that you're meddling in other people's business now?" Cheng Kai Fu climbed up, staring at Guang Yuan's back, and threatened, "Still want to leave after hitting this young master? Not so easy." He pointed at Ling Han and the others, and said, "You're all with him, right? Hey, this lord has remembered you all." Ling Han shook his head and laughed. Where do you get the sense of superiority? Has water gotten inside your brain? Hu Nu bared her teeth. She would never let off those who dared to harbor evil thoughts toward Ling Han. Ha ha! Do you know who this young master is? Chen Kaifu wanted to posture arrogantly a while longer, but he never expected Hu Nu to charge over and slap him fiercely across the face, knocking him onto the ground. He was knocked down once more, this time by a little girl. Damn it! Damn it! Chen Kaifu threw a fit, his eyes ferocious as though he truly wished to kill. Pa! Hu Nu slapped again, and Chen Kaifu was naturally sent to the ground yet again. Before Hu Nu, he was nothing more than a dish. This left Kan Ye and Guang Yuan speechless. This little girl was truly brutal. After several slaps, Chen Kaifu finally learned how to behave, understanding that these people did not act by any normal rules. With hatred filling his eyes, he did not dare act arrogant again. Ling Han drew his sword, its chilling light flowing like water. Only then did Chen Kaifu feel true fear. Shivering, he said, "What do you want? If he died here, how wrong would that be?" "This lord." The farmers trembled in their boots. If Ling Han struck and killed Chen Kai, they could not escape responsibility. "I'm warning you, my brother is Yan Fei." Pooh! Ling Han's hand rose and the sword fell. A gush of blood splattered. Chen Kaifu's arm was cut off. Ah! Chen Kaifu instantly screamed miserably. "Shut up!" Ling Han roared, his voice like a sword. The shock made Chen Kaifu involuntarily stop screaming. Then he stared at Ling Han with a gaze both fearful and hateful. "The reason I didn't cut you down is because of these people." Ling Han pointed at those farmers. "Follow last year's price to buy the medicinal ingredients. Otherwise, I will find you and cut of your damn head," he said coldly. Chen Kaifu hurt so badly his face twitched, but as it concerned his own life, he chose to lower his head, nodding only within a very tiny range. "Heard it or not? Answer me loudly." Ling Han swung his sword. "I heard!" Chen Kaifu yelled loudly, tears spilling out. "Get lost!" Ling Han sheathed his sword. Chen Kaifu hurriedly turned and ran. The two servants picked up the severed arm from the ground and followed after Chen Kaifu. If the arm were reattached at once, there was still a possibility it might work. The farmers looked at Ling Han with reverent gazes. At a single word, they scattered, leaving only a few behind. "Thank you, young master, for helping." These people knelt down to salute Ling Han. Their gratitude was sincere and honest. Revelator, Kurisu Ling Han did not blame those who fled. They were truly ordinary folk of the lowest rung, with no strength to contend against oppression, drifting with the current, lives hanging by a single thread. He raised both hands in a calming gesture for them to steady themselves and said, "That one surnamed Cheng, I will settle him for all of you." This young Master Fu, is from the Star Brilliance Palace Hall, and it's said that he holds a lofty status. You should leave at once, someone urged anxiously. Yes, once. Someone said to be very strong had a conflict with young Master Fu, but in the end he broke both his legs and even crawled back to young Master Fu to beg forgiveness. I also heard that someone offended young Master Fu, and in the end, just to stay alive, he sent his wife and daughter for young Master Fu to abuse for several days, and only then did he barely escape that calamity. Ling Han could not help but laugh and said, "I truly underestimated that fellow. He's actually done so many wicked things." The crowd of farmers pressed Ling Han to turn back along the road he had come, yet their standing was too humble. They only knew that Chen Kaifu was doing well within the Star Brilliance Palace Hall. What exact backing he possessed was completely unknown to them. Ling Han naturally was not afraid. He was already a high-level black-grade alchemist, and he had come here to certify as an Earth-grade one. It was not as if he needed to fear some pampered junior. After exchanging a few words with the farmers, he returned to the carriage, but the two coachmen refused to take them any farther no matter what. After reasoning in every possible way, they still forced Ling Han and the others off the carriage, then fled as if their backsides were on fire, whipping the harness and turning the carriage around to double back. "It seems that youngster has some connections." Guang Yuan laughed. "Coming out to oppress ordinary people. His connections can't be that great, right?" Zhuwu chimed in. Originally, he had no qualification to speak so casually to a spiritual ocean tier cultivator, yet everyone had mingled for a long time, and moreover, Guang Yuan was a loose cultivator who did not fuss over tiers and status. Ling Han did not care and said, "Let's go. Now we can only continue on foot." Now it was only half a day's road from the Star Brilliance Palace Hall. The carriage was not fast to begin with. It could only save them some strength, so it truly did not matter much. As the party set out, Hu Niu acted like a spoiled child, insisting Ling Han piggyback her, then turning to make faces at Lu Yutong and Li Si Chan, looking incomparably smug. She hooked her arms around Ling Han's neck with intimate possessiveness, flaunting it to the fullest. Yet after only a short while of walking, they ran into a bandit wave that brazenly launched an attack and was cut down by Kanye alone. Within the next hour, they actually encountered 7 waves of bandits, showing just how chaotic the surroundings were. This fully proved that the Storm mercenaries truly had a smooth path here. Earlier, when they rode the carriage bearing the Storm mercenaries' flag, they did not encounter even a single wave of bandits. But now, the bandits surged like a tide. Can Yi never knew how to hold back when striking. In Huyang Academy, whenever someone sparred with him, a spiritual ocean tier expert had to watch over it, for fear he would grievously injure or kill someone. But here, who would stop him? Ling Han had no intention of making. Can Yi restrain himself? This youngster was born like a sharp saber. Suppressing that vicious edge was no different from shackling his martial path. Only by letting him run free could he grow into an exceptionally fierce saber. Moreover, a bandit ought to have the awareness of being a bandit. If they died, they deserved it. After killing off another 3 waves of bandits, they frightened the rest away, and no one came looking for trouble anymore. Ahead, a lofty palace appeared before their eyes. Rather than a hall, it was more like a tower. Its height and width were not proportionate, yet by its design, it could only be called a hall. The stairs actually coiled along the outside of the palace hall in an upward spiral, an extraordinarily grand piece of workmanship. The entire palace was piled up from star-flower stones. In daylight, it was nothing special, but at night, the whole palace hall would shine like the stars. Star Brilliance Palace Hall, truly living up to its name. However, it was now afternoon, and the palace had not yet revealed its magnificent, resplendent side. From afar, it looked like a lofty tower, casting a long, heavy shadow. This was not the only structure in Fallen Moon Gorge. Around the tall palace stretched streets that formed a bustling town. It was the hub linking the 9 nations of the desolate north to the northern region. People from all 9 nations gathered here, martial artists, merchants, wandering adventurers, and wanted criminals alike. Here, everything fell under the Star Brilliance Palace Hall's control. The Star Brilliance Palace Hall was the dictator and the law here. Whoever opposed it, kill. To enter or leave this town required paying a fee. In principle, those who stayed within this small town would receive the Star Brilliance Palace Hall's protection, but every 3 days, they had to either pay the fee again or leave. Thus, businessmen came and went in haste, and the inn's pound charges in town were not lenient either, fleecing customers until it hurt. Ling Han arrived at the town entrance and paid according to the number of people. Even Hu Niu was counted. Each person was 100 silvers for 3 days, and 3 days later, if it was discovered they were still here and had not paid again, they would be killed without mercy. It was said that the fees had not been so high before, and one could stay as long as one wished, as long as one had money to live in the inns. Yet starting from half a year ago, the rules changed. Now, cries of complaint could be heard everywhere, filled with extreme discontent toward the Star Brilliance Palace Hall's high-handedness. But the Star Brilliance Palace Hall represented the alchemist society that controlled Heaven's Medicine Pavilion, and at least half of the medicinal pills in the 9 nations of the desolate north were distributed by them. Even if they were domineering, who would dare oppose them openly? Ling Han had Guang Yuan pay the entrance fees down to the last cent. Then they first found an inn to stay at. After washing away the fatigue of travel and resting a little, Ling Han brought Zhu Heixin and Hu Niu and headed toward the Star Brilliance Palace Hall. Hu Niu could not be shaken off. While Zhu Wuju was an alchemist, so he was involved. The town was not large, so after about 10 minutes, they arrived at the Star Brilliance Palace Hall, even though they strolled slowly. Aside from being tall, the Star Brilliance Palace Hall's architectural style was rather ordinary. There were only a few dozen steps, unlike places with hundreds of steps before reaching the top, steeped in the arrogance of towering above all. Pa, pa, pa! A group of people ran out from the great hall. Each one looked fierce, startling those at the entrance, so they hurriedly dodged to either side. The Star Brilliance Palace Hall was the highest authoritative organization of the Alchemist Society in the 9 nations of the desolate north. Not only were Earth-grade alchemy masters here, but there were also many high-tier cultivators, all belonging to the Alchemist Society's own forces. They could not dispatch such people all the time for trivial matters. Besides, alchemists focused on refining pills, not on fighting. An alchemist's organization? Well, perhaps they lacked other things, but they definitely were not lacking money. This group of people were the Star Brilliance Palace Hall's hired thugs, but they had a pleasant-sounding name: the Star Defense Force. Members of the Star Defense Force naturally came from the lower rungs, so they were especially rampant, barging through others' paths, utterly like street toughs. Ling Han swept them with his gaze and could not help revealing an astonished expression. The leader was Cheng Kai-Fu, whom he had seen when entering. His arm had actually been reattached, wrapped in thick white gauze, and his whole face was carved with malice. Obviously, after this fellow merely reconnected his severed arm, he could not wait to bring people out to take revenge. What a truly cheap person. Was the earlier lesson still not enough?